Wow. I didn't know that. Well, yeah, very rare to be here 6 years, you know.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
It's another thing, so.
Yeah.
I mean, Aiden, history is obviously on the line in this one, but for some other reasons than we might think, Joe Evans and Nico Ragaini, well, they look to be the first humans ever on planet Earth to win the Floyd of Rosedale 6 times.
Yeah, Michael, I mean, whack-a-mole, whack-a-gopher. I'm sure it seems like deja vu for those two, but another win really can't hurt.
No, it definitely can't. Hawkeyes have won 8 in a row. Now they're looking for their 9th straight win for the Floyd of Rosedale. But hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Daily Iowans weekly pregame show and your #1 source for Hawkeye sports. I'm Michael Merrick.
And I'm Aiden Wirtz, and today we're going to break down everything you need to know before the kickoff.
Now, Aiden, the Hawkeyes, they took a big blow to their offense on Saturday, as sadly, tight end Eric All went down with a scary leg injury.
Yeah, Michael, you hate to see it, especially with 2 tight ends down now. The injury bug just keeps seeming to biting the Hawkeyes, and this is a huge loss for an Iowa offense that is really struggling to find any playmakers. But it's even worse for Eric, as he did end up tearing his ACL and will require surgery, and he'll be expected to be sidelined for up to 6 to 10 months.
Yeah, it's sad to see a guy like All go down, but even with the lack of production on this offense, Iowa still finds a way to win this one. They're 6-1 on the season.
And Michael, it's the exact style of play that head football coach Kirk Ferentz always wants to play. Pound the ball, force some turnovers, and of course get some defensive points up, which your boy, Wyatt Vlad, did perfectly with a monster safety.
Yeah, he absolutely demolished the quarterback on that one. But we got another trophy game here too, so he's got that to play for. There's just so many trophy games here at the University of Iowa. Aiden, to you, how important are they?
I mean, they're huge. It seems like every week you got another rivalry for Iowa, and if Iowa wins this one, they'll have their best start since 2015. Having a home atmosphere of Kinnick absolutely gives a team an advantage, but anybody could really bring home the bacon in a heated game like this one.
That's definitely true, and the Hawkeyes obviously hope they're going to bring home that bacon, but let's hear how they feel about yet another trophy matchup.
It's the Floyd Trophy. They always talk about it and what it means and the Floyd of Rosedale and how it came about and things like that. But, you know, anytime it's a trophy game, it means a lot.
Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I don't know much about it. I know they're not the biggest fans of us, and I know we're not the biggest fans of them. I know the trophy has a pig on it. I'm still learning. You know, I've got a lot of other stuff to focus on right now.
It's just like I think about everybody that's been here in the past, and I just want to do it for them. You know, that's my mindset comes to the game and doing it for the guys.
Now, Aiden, it's time for the Hawkeye Highlight. Usually, I'd let you start this one off, but I'm a little too eager to highlight this player.
You know what, Michael? The floor is all yours. Take it away, my man.
I really appreciate that. But this week, my Hawkeye Highlight, well, it's the mate from down under, the awesome Aussie. It's Tory Taylor. Taylor is far and away the most impactful punter in the entire nation, and he's likely the most important player on this Iowa team. And with all the punting is winning and Tory for Heisman jokes aside, if this was the 1950s, he probably would win the Heisman for how dominant he's been this season. Let's take a look at his stats so far this year. Taylor ranks 5th in the nation and 1st in the Big Ten by a mile in yards per punt, with nearly 50 yards per punt. The Aussie also leads the country in total punt yards. He's over 300 yards clear of the next highest. But it's not just all power, as the Aussie is downed over 39% of his punts this season within the opponent's 20. Tory has even punted for more yards than the Iowa offense has gained throughout this season. Now, it's unlikely that Taylor actually does get any Heisman attention, but it's clear that he is this team's MVP so far this season.
Iowa football is kind of special teams, defense, and things like that. I mean, that's no brainer, but it's one of those things that, yeah, I'm the one punting the ball and things like that, but, you know, Luke is snapping great balls every time, and the punt unit's running down there, hustling, and I kind of love playing in these conditions because you really kind of find out who's legit and who's not, and who really wants to be out there, who's a good punter, who's not a good punter. You know, it's funny, I watched a few of the SEC games today, and they're all playing like 85-degree weather, like not a breath of wind, and yeah, they're hitting good balls, but you really kind of find out your true potential when you're playing these games.
Yeah, Michael Taylor, obviously such an impactful player for the Hawkeyes, and he can flip the field position in just one quick punt.
Yeah, it definitely is the most Iowan highlight I've done yet, that's for sure. But Aiden, who's your Hawkeye highlight this week?
Well, Michael, it might not be as fun as yours, but this is probably the other MVP from Saturday's win against Wisconsin. My Hawkeye highlight this week is defensive back Sebastian Castro. Castro is a flat-out dog who isn't the loudest of guys on the team, but his pursuit and physicality is top tier in his position. He's got 3 interceptions on the year and is 5th on the team in solo tackles. The boy from Illinois has a gritty play style, which all started with some street ball.
Sebastian Castro is from Oak Lawn, Illinois, where his dream of being a Division I athlete was born under the lamplights of a dead-end street.
There was a lot of kids in that neighborhood, and we all would just play sports. It would be like 8 inches of snow, however much, and we would just we loved every second of it. And we had like a pretty decent basement, and we would just like move all the couches, move everything, and there would be one guy at one end of the wall, and there'd be like 4 people waiting for him on the other side of the wall, and that one person has to score. I wasn't really scared of anyone. I mean, at first I was, but it really helped just like playing with the older guys, and it made me a lot better.
On Saturdays, number 29 darts all around the field and influences his teammates to give the same effort.
You're seeing that guy fly around like that, then in your head you're like, I gotta be flying around like that.
When you get him mad, he'll talk a little bit. But I don't think people want to do that. I think that just makes him play that much better.
Even with all the attention he receives in Iowa City, Castro never forgets to thank the supporters back home.
Just knowing that they were there for me, and I know they love the fact that they did that for me in a sense, and they see where I'm at now and the heights I'm reaching. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I mean, what a great story. Those basement Oklahoma drills, Aiden, they really teach you who's got it, who doesn't.
Michael, absolutely. I think we all had those as kids, as younger guys going up against the older guys, and it's a test of how bad do you want it.
And it's clear that Castro, well, he's always wanted it. But now let's bring in DITV Sports reporter Samantha Belma. Samantha, I hope you're doing well. It's great to have you on the show, but who are you looking at this week for your Hawkeye Highlight?
Thanks, Michael. It's great to be on, and usually my Hawkeye highlight, as you know, would be Eric All, but I'm gonna have to give it to the offensive line as a unit today. After Wisconsin, I think they showed how they're dynamic, they know what they're doing, and most importantly, they looked fast, which is exactly what we needed. We've seen them struggle a little bit throughout the beginning of the season, but last week they showed up for the Hawkeyes and really got it done. I'd really like to see them keep that up as we head into this weekend with Minnesota.
You know, we pride ourselves on offensive line here at the University of Iowa, and just to see, the amount of obstacles we've overcome and the amount of growth we've had, it's just the way we do things here, and we just want to continue to grow in every aspect of our game, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
This will probably be another game won in the trenches, and Iowa will need their O-line to keep it up if they want another win going into the bye week. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Samantha. The O-line has probably been the only stable part of the Iowa offense so far this season, which is not something that could be said in the past, Aiden.
Yeah, Michael, Samantha is absolutely right. This game will come down to who wins the battle of the line of scrimmage, and with how Iowa's been running the ball lately, I'd favor this team in this matchup.
That's definitely the area to watch on Saturday, and I don't know if there's a more Big Ten West statement to watch than that one. But now, let's move on to the breakdown. This is one of college football's oldest rivalries and one of the oldest trophy games of all time, too. I mean, it goes so far back that it started back in 1935 when they played for an actual live pig. Now they do play for a trophy, and it's literally one of the biggest trophies that Iowa plays for. It almost weighs 100 pounds. Minnesota does lead this all-time series for the matchup, but Iowa is currently on their largest win streak of all time, bringing the bacon home the past 8 meetings. Moving on to this year's squad, it's Ethan Kalike-Manis in his first season as the full-time starter. He did play a few games for the Gophers last season and even got to start against Iowa this past year in Minnesota. Ethan struggled against the Hawkeyes, though, a year ago, only putting up 87 yards through the air, and he had an interception in that Gophers loss. This year also hasn't really been what Gopher fans were expecting or hoping for, as Kalike-Manis has struggled at times. He's currently near the bottom of the Big Ten in most passing categories.
Of course, since this is his first season as a starting quarterback throughout the entire season, he has hit some pretty big bumps on the road in terms of development, but this year hasn't been entirely as accurate as a lot of people thought it would have been. But overall, I think we are seeing some flashes of someone that could be starting next year as well.
But what this team lacks in passing, they make up for on the ground game. Right now, the Gophers have a strong stable of running backs as they have had 4 backs get a load of carries this season.
But now that since we have 4 running backs that I'd say could be in rotation at any given snap, it's special, especially with how this offense has struggled this season. I think it is one of the biggest highlights from this team.
But the player that sticks out the most is easily freshman back Darius Taylor. Taylor actually visited the University of Iowa, but did ultimately decide on Minnesota, and that seems to have paid off for him early. Right now, Taylor leads the entire conference in yards per game by a large margin with 133 yards per game. And Taylor also ranks near the top in yards per rush and in touchdowns.
He is breaking tackles like no other, and he's just bouncing off of them. And so I guess if I were to say anybody, it's going to be Marion Barber. He's a bulldozer. You don't expect him to be a bulldozer, but like when you get up close to him, you see him. He's built. He's a little tank there, and his game shows it off too.
Finally, we'll close out with this Gopher defense, and while they're not as dominant as in years past, this is still the strong part of this Gopher team. Don't let these numbers fool you. This defense is legit. Some of their numbers may be skewed because they've played J.J. McCarthy and those Michigan Wolverines, and also a future first-round NFL pick in Drake May and those UNC Tar Heels. The main playmaker on this defense, though, is Tyler Nubin. Nubin is already one of the best DBs in the entire country, and he even had some NFL teams looking at him a year ago. But since returning, Nubin has been dominating again, grabbing 3 interceptions so far this year, and that's with quarterbacks trying to avoid him at all costs.
Tyler Nubin, he was just named AP midseason second team safety. So he's playing at his highest level. Everybody thought that, well, I mean, not everybody, but me personally, I thought he was going to enter the NFL draft. He was projected to be a second-round pick. He decided to stay for the Gophers, and I think he's probably playing himself into a late first-round pick now, which ended up being a great choice by him.
And Michael, with how tough the Minnesota defense has been, and with Nubin snagging 3 picks and Iowa's passing offense really being a little bit subpar, gonna have to look out in the air game.
Yeah, you definitely are. Obviously, Deacon Hill's got some things to prove this weekend, but let's try to figure out what's going on around the rest of the Big Ten. AJ, you're in the newsroom this week, so let's bring you in. I think you won the title again at this point. I do not care anymore. This is absolutely ridiculous that you have 4 championship wins, so just take it and tell us what's going on around the rest of the Big Ten.
Michael, I cannot wait to flaunt that belt again once we get to prediction time. But that Iowa-Minnesota game isn't the only Big Ten game this weekend. There are a ton of them, including the biggest game of the weekend. The number 7 ranked Penn State Nittany Lions are storming into Columbus to battle with the number 3 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes in a game that could knock that 3-headed monster of Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State in the Big Ten East down to 2. The Nittany Lions are coming off an easy win over UMass, 63-0. An interesting choice to play a non-Power 5 team once their Big Ten schedule has started, but that's what they did. And on the other side of the ball, the Buckeyes took down the Purdue Boilermakers with ease, 41-7. The offense combined for almost 500 yards. The Buckeyes are 4.5-point favorites in this massive matchup that starts at 11 in the morning. I should not have to wake up that early to watch the biggest game of the weekend. Put them on primetime. Anyways, another Big Ten game to keep an eye on is the battle for Michigan. The number 2 ranked Wolverines are headed to East Lansing to battle their in-state rival, the Michigan State Spartans, who are coming off a heartbreaking loss against Rutgers, who scored late in the game to take the lead. Not to mention the problems they've had on the coaching staff. Certainly not looking good for the Spartans. But for Michigan, they're undefeated and are coming off a 52-7 stomping over Indiana, where Heisman candidate J.J. McCarthy threw for 222 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Wolverines are 24-point favorites in this one. And one game I'm excited to watch outside the Big Ten is number 17 against number 11 Alabama. Last year, Tennessee took down the powerhouse that is the Crimson Tide and infamously chucked their goalpost into the river. This year, Bama is at home and they are looking for revenge. Both teams already have one loss under their belts and are currently outside looking in terms of the college football playoffs. And the Volunteers defeated Texas A&M last weekend in a close 20-13 game that Tennessee was heavily favored in. And Alabama's also coming off a close game against an opponent they were heavily favored against, just squeaking out a 24-21 win over Arkansas. The Crimson Tide are 9.5-point favorites in this one. That's a look around the Big Ten. What games are you guys most excited for?
Well, AJ, I'm not really going to go too different from you. I want to see that Penn State-Ohio State matchup. I really think that the winner of that game, they're going to represent the East. I don't think it's going to be the big bad blue up in Michigan.
No, Michael, but my pick is going to be Michigan. And they're not playing the best Michigan State team, but my boy, J.J. McCarthy, number 9, is the star for that Michigan team. I want to see him throw a couple touchdowns. I grew up with him. I caught a couple balls from him, so see if he can take down the Spartans this weekend.
It's pretty likely that I think they will. That Michigan team, they just rolled over their last few opponents. But now it's time to get everyone's final thoughts on this upcoming game here in Iowa City. So let's bring everybody back here. AJ, I already touched on it. You're the 4-time reigning kickoff champion. So we're going to start with you since you just think you're untouchable out here. But everybody else, y'all better bring it because we can't let this happen anymore.
Michael. This is just getting too easy. Anyways, listen up, boys and girls. The champ is talking. Starting it off with my player to watch, Aiden, I liked your Hawkeye highlight so much that I'm taking Sebastian Castro. Castro was just named a second-team All-American midseason and is coming off arguably his best game yet, where he had 7 tackles, 2 of them for a loss, 2 pass deflections, and an interception to seal the game. I expect Castro to have a big game against a subpar Minnesota offense. For the game itself, I've got the Golden Gophers getting the upset. Despite their subpar offense against the Hawkeyes' top-tier defense, I think Minnesota surprises Iowa and comes out with a heavy run package and gets the Gophers a 20-10 win, their first in Kinnick Stadium since 1999. Now, Samantha, this is your first time on the show. What do you got for this weekend?
Well, AJ, it might be my first time on the show, but I think I'm coming for that title. My player to watch is LaShawn Williams. We saw that 82-yard touchdown last weekend. Come on, and wow, did that get the team up. Not only the team, but the Hawkeye fans could feel that energy in the stadium. He's such an asset to the offense and isn't scared to get right in the middle of that mess. I like that Williams is tough, and we need someone like that to give the ball to every single game. And because of that, I got Iowa winning this 20-3. And I'm excited to see Iowa's offense show up this weekend, hopefully. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good game. Let's see if they'll do it. Aiden, what do you think?
Yes, Samantha, those are some great picks. Your player to watch is one of mine to watch as well, but I will say that I'm taking Xavier Nwampa. I know, AJ, it's normally your favorite guy, but I'll say he's going to bring the X factor to this defense this weekend. He hasn't gotten an interception since week 1, but I think he's hungry for one this weekend. And I think especially against a team like Minnesota and their passing game not being up to par, X could take one back to the house. I'm also going to take the Hawkeyes with a score of 17-10 here with 1 defensive touchdown for the Hawkeyes. They are going to pound the ball on the ground, and Deacon may be a little bit conservative, but with 1 defensive touchdown and maybe a field goal from Drew Stevens here and there, the Hawkeyes will take it home and take down the Gophers for the trophy. And that's all that I've got, but we'll toss it over to Theo in Minnesota and see what he's got for his prediction this weekend.
Player to watch in a good way, or I guess maybe a bad way in your context, is Tyler Nubin. 100%, since you're starting your backup quarterback now for the rest of the season. Just him being a ball hawk, a playmaker, the Iowa offense not moving as much. We need to force those turnovers to have the good enough field position to put points up on the board, especially against one of the best defenses in the nation. Yeah, we can't let your punter touch the ball. I will say that. I saw a meme earlier where it had like the top 4 Heisman candidates, and the Iowa punter was one of them. But I think Iowa is going to come out with the win. I think final score is going to be... Honestly, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say 14-6. Iowa. I'm being serious. I wish I was joking. I just remember sitting in that cold press box, hands shaking last season, ready to write this Iowa-Minnesota gamer, and seeing the over-under total at like 32.5 points. and it being one of the lowest over-under totals ever for a college football game, and it hitting the under. So I have no doubt in my mind that especially with just the situation that both these offenses are in and the level of the defenses are playing, I think Iowa's defense is going to give them the edge, possibly a pick six here since Athan did throw 2 last game. 14-6, Iowa.
Wow, Theo. I got to give big respect to you. You picked against your team in this segment. Who knows, you might be wrong like I was this past week when I picked against the Hawkeyes. My player to watch, though, is Jay Higgins. He was also named to that midseason All-America team, and he still leads Power 5 players in tackles. I just think he's going to continue to be all over the field in this one. He might even grab another interception like we saw against Purdue. Because of this, I got Iowa winning in a wacky and weird Big Ten West game, 16-6. I was going to find the end zone once in this one. There's not a chance I'm going to guess who that'll be, though. Iowa's definitely going to kick a lot of field goals in this one, too. That's mainly because I just don't think that this offense can move it far past that red zone. And they were only in the red zone not at all, actually, against Wisconsin.
Yeah, Michael, this offense just can't seem to get too many things going, but again, as we've touched on, it's the style of football that Iowa's always played, that they continue to play, and if they get another win, they'll be 7-1, so there's not a whole lot we can complain about as Iowa fans.
No, you definitely can't, and I've just embraced it at this point. I know I picked 16-6, but I wouldn't be sad if it was 5-0. I mean, wins are all that matter at the end of the day, and I just want to win that title, too, from AJ, but thank you, Samantha, AJ, and Theo, and a special thanks to you for tuning into another edition of Before the Kickoff.
Be sure to check out the Daily Iowan website and YouTube page for all the latest on everything Hawkeye sports. And from the University of Iowa, I'm Aiden Wirtz.
And I'm Michael Merrick, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend of football, everyone.